One, two, three, recording. Hi guys, how are you? Entrepreneurs, how are you holding up in these moments? I know in many states you also have a lockdown. I don't know how harsh it is. Here in Spain, just an update for you. After 2 weeks, we enter the third one with a little new restrictions, meaning only non essential work, only people working at non-essential services or products can actually leave home. For the last 2 weeks, people, not restaurants, not bars, not shops, etc., but still people, could go to the office or to the factory. Now they cannot. Only non-essential, which is basically, of course, hospitals, of course, pharmacies, supermarkets, all the logistics related to what else? Construction out unless it's urgent. What else? It's on media, reporters, etc. They can still work. Also, public transportation, etc. But as you can imagine, very limited to essential, whatever it's called, essential work. So let's see. This is for the last 2 weeks. I think we're doing okay in Spain. We are flattening the curve. Yeah? Although it's not easy to predict because the data, if all hospitals report at the same time, if everybody calculates or identifies if this death is caused by coronavirus or not, blah, 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 blah. But considering now the trend, I think we're flattening it. It's this week. It will be more clear. We need some days to actually see really the trend. But I think it will go down. And then I don't know what will happen. So we've been 2 weeks locked down. We have two more to go. And after these 28 days, let's see, they will start opening. Not wildly, as you can imagine. So it will be a gradual opening. Maybe everybody can go to work. But what will remain open, what will be reopened? Restaurants, bars, maybe not so fast. Schools, maybe not so fast. Retails, these guys are suffering a lot. Retail shops are suffering a lot, as you can imagine, and of course restaurants, hotels, etc. Let's see. I'm also attaching you, just for the sake of information, a Goldman Sachs. I have it here. I also attach it to the management group, so you have it. Both of my students in both classes, you have it, but it's very interesting. Actually, the name is very promising. It's called A Light at the End of the Tunnel. Yes, guys, this is a tunnel and we're gonna get through it. And basically, what many people mention in papers, they see more a U-shape situation, where after supply and demand has been absolutely frozen, it will recover kind of fast. Let's hope. Of course, nobody knows. I don't think nobody has ever experienced something like this, not even in a war. And this is so dramatic, so fast, and so intense. Everything is frozen in Europe, or in many countries in Europe. I know in many states in America, everything is frozen, and only the basic services and products, still work or still produce or still go to work. But yes, this is the prediction of Goldman Sachs. They know about money. They know. I know they know. Hope you don't hear my kid screaming out there discussing something with my wife. And so anyway, Goldman Sachs predicts that after a big drop on the US economy in this second quarter, meaning until July, a drop of 24%, there will be a big bump of 12% third quarter and 10% in the last quarter of 2020, and an average, of course, of minus 3.8, which is it's a big drop in general. But anyway, let's see how it goes. Also, as we discussed, startups are suffering, of course, the situation. Imagine, first of all, in terms of investors, imagine all the investors, all the deals, all the agreements about funding agreements that are so, wait a second, so important for the startups just to keep growing and to expand and customer creation. We'll talk about today about customer creation. So it's going to be for startups, well, like anyone, any company in the economy, actually, absolutely frozen. Maybe it's a good time for them to rethink their strategy, to keep on working on the product feature, on keep on working on basically strategy, uh, maybe analyzing data and keep on working on launching, etc. But of course everything is absolutely now frozen and many deals will have to postpone. What about those startups that needed a deal right now because um, they have to pay salaries, pay roles, pay debts, and they cannot do it for X weeks, X months? Are they gonna die? This is a critical moment for not only a startup but for many companies. The difference between a startup and a company is basically normally that resources like money, they lack it. They lack cash flow. They lack money because of course they are new or they are about to launch or they just been in the market for very little time and they are still losing money. As you know, many startups lose money for a long time, but investors keep them and maintain them because the data, the metrics, the traction is good. So they hope, they can monetize and they can go up into profits in X quarters. But of course, now the situation has changed. Another aspect, considering the situation, what startups do you think can actually have a good moment? Or I know the moment is bad for everyone, but of course, there's always winners and losers. Huh? Of course, masks and gel sanitizer producers are having a great sweet time. We know that. And some other industries and some other companies and products and services. Huh? So startups, tourism, bad. Airbnb is going to have a very bad year, at least until probably the end of 2020. It's going to be bad for Airbnb. Can they can they keep it? I mean, do they have the resources to keep it? Well, probably. Investors will hold it. Investors will, of course, because it's been proven as very successful. Amazon is doing fine and will do fine, of course. Everything related to e-commerce, etc. It's okay. Mhm. Then the media, okay, I think it's doing okay. Or the social media, actually, is I guess they having this kind of a strange situation where they have usage is just ramping. I mean, I just saw statistics on WhatsApp is increasing 700%. WhatsApp, because people is all the time at home and connecting, sharing stuff, communicating like crazy. Same with Twitter, same with Facebook, same with TikTok, same with well, Tinder is having a special moment. Huh? Although I heard some cases of people, doing Tinder and then running away in the middle of the night. Huh? But of course, Tinder is different. TikTok is good. Insta, Snapchat, they're doing good in terms of volume, in terms of usage. But I have mixed feelings about in terms of revenue, because for the same reason, people are using a lot, but I don't think Facebook and all the social media can convince advertisers, to pay and to buy ads, because for advertisers it's a tough moment. So maybe, as I mentioned before, they're dropping prices a lot. But I mean, who can now advertise Nike? I mean, nobody can buy Nike right now. Nobody can go to the shops, and even Amazon has huge delays because of the situation. So, I mean, maybe it's not the best time for Nike to advertise now. Some companies do it as a long-term investment, like car companies. I'm seeing car companies investing a lot in ads because they know, okay, maybe not now, of course, but in 2 months, sooner or later, people will need a car. And if they need a car, they will buy a car. So since the prices are very low, I'm going to invest in this long-term strategy of building brand, etc. So I don't know, for social media, that's okay. So think about that. Think about what startups, what business model, can in a way benefit or make some sort of gain out of this. What kind of services? Maybe secondhand, eBay services, like eBay, I mean, Let Go, or other type of. The problem is, of course, that you cannot meet now. But I mean, after the lockdown, it's over, and people want to do some extra money, and then maybe they start selling whatever they don't need, an old guitar and old whatever, and toys, even clothes, etc. Maybe they're gonna have a sweet moment if the recession stays for a while. And also, like I comment on the other class, but it's also definitely applicable here, we're going to have a small retreat of globalization, and local producers, local manufacturers, local tourism is going to really have a boom. People, for a while, I'm not saying that long, but for a while, people will travel less, at least outside the country. And import exports will be affected. So again, local producers and manufacturers are going to have a momentarily or temporary sweet moment. And let's go. This is the intro. And of course, as you can see in the email, you have the homework. I'll explain now. This is the last the last video. Next week is Easter break, so no homework, nothing. Let me adjust this. But in any event, what I'll do, oh my gosh, I need to buy one of those things, but Amazon is just delivering in 10 days. So next week, no homework. There will be homework for this one, but not next Monday. Maybe I may send you an email, but it's just going to be a how are you guys email and video. There will be no homework, no assignments, no commitment. That's for sure. And we'll talk later about the homework and how this is gonna develop. But that's it. First of all, we had here pending stuff to comment. You guys remember was the contract. Very interesting contract. I sent it to you before, some weeks ago, but of course it was kind of, I anticipated myself. I know I do that sometimes in a while, but you know what? Education is going in circles. You go back and then forth, and then you recover stuff, etc., etc. It's just a sample. I know for non-lawyers, most of you, I guess, it's kind of complicated, but just do the effort and read it. Here, as you can see, for instance, I'm focusing now on important articles. I know there's a lot of legalese, etc., but anyway, sooner or later you will learn this, because you will sign contracts, you will hire people, or you will be hired, or you will buy this, or you will sell that. So, for instance, very interesting here, they mention management of the corporation. Remember this, when you have an investor, of course, depending on the type of investment, if it's 20, 30%, whatever, the bargaining power of the investor, something very interesting, and something that it creates some sort of tension, or it can create tension. You have a new guy coming in, and he wants to decide, he wants to control the management, the board of directors. So here is where you have to establish who and why, etc., will establish the board of directors. In the example of the contract, here they say the corporation shall have a board consisting of up to three directors, of which one by the founders, entrepreneurs, a second one by Class A, the investor nominee, and third, the common nominee, other investors. So you have this kind of equilibrium, you have this kind of agreement, because this is important. In many cases, they also, here they have to establish in these shareholders agreements. Remember, shareholders agreements, it's you have a new investor coming to the company, coming to the startup, where you have other investors, and maybe, of course, you still have the co-founders. And you have to make an agreement, all of them. With what goal? First of all, to establish the relationship, the conditions, the obligations, the rights of all of them. Some of them are the founders, so kind of they have some sort of priority. They started the company, blah, 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 blah. They know the company, blah, 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 blah. Yes, but you also have a guy, let's say this Class A preferred shares, that also are investing a lot of millions in the company. So because you have to understand, there's always a trade-off. You have to understand that they also want some sort of control. They're putting a lot of money, so they want to have someone of their guys in the board of directors. Also, some cases they also mention salaries, very important. You have one guy investing 20 millions, and those guys, they're not stupid and say, okay, but the CEO let's imagine the CEO is still one of the founders of the startup. The CEO cannot have a 2 million salary, not now, not until the company makes in revenues and profits X amount of money. But right now, sorry, he's got to be, or she has to be committed to the company, and she has to work hard. So, I mean, don't you think that you're gonna make a big deal, or you're gonna just get cash out and make a lot of money out of this investment? No, this investment is for the company, not to make yet the entrepreneur rich. Something that creates what I've seen in my experience has created a lot of tension, because some of the founders, some of the entrepreneurs, they want more money because they think, I've been working so hard for 5 years, making basically nothing, or even below the average of what a kid of my school or class would be making now. And now that I have this big investment, I want some extra money. And investors say no. So something, again, all shareholders need to agree. This is very important. Also, matters requiring prior approval, what kind of decisions, what kind of investments, what kind of strategies have to be agreed by everyone. Imagine, okay, you cannot hire X amount of people, you cannot sign this type of agreement or license or whatever, or expense without X number percentage of shareholders, because it's a big economical decision for the company. Then you have information rights. All shareholders have the right to get the financial year statements of the corporation, the annual budget, to participate, etc., etc. Then also going down, restriction on transfer of shares. Are we going to have a restriction? Are they going to be free? You have to offer other investors first, etc. Then we have, I'm checking the most important, the permitted transfers. Then the causal rights. It's kind of what I call, the other contracts they call tag along, and also you have the drag along. They do mention in clause 6.6 drag along rights. The causal rights in 6.5 of the contract, it's what in other places they would call it tag along, meaning after X time another investor comes with many millions, etc., etc. And it's only buying your shares and not mine. So it's important, if we agree under what circumstances he can buy only your shares, or he has to buy all of us. Out of fairness, out of equity, something they have to discuss. Because maybe I don't like the new investors, maybe I don't want you to go, or I want everybody to participate in this investment, in this sale, etc. The same with the drag. As you can see, it's when somebody leaves the company, if you have to establish, if somebody's leaving, one of the current shareholders wants to leave the company, he has to, or only it's possible if all of them have the right to leave the company. For the same reason, if I have another investor is coming, under what circumstances you can leave the company, or they have to be all together because maybe I don't want to stay with that new investor, etc., etc. Is another condition, the tag along and the drag along. It's like both sides. And then of course, here you have more, it's kind of technical, I know. Then you have the confidentiality, this is blah, blah, blah. Application of the agreement, well, all these legalese. What I said is basically the most important. Think about management of the company, think about information of the company, think about under what conditions, we can disinvest and we can accept another investors, and you have the right to sell, and you have the obligation to sell with others, or you have the obligation not to sell to others, etc., etc. Anything that is important for the maintenance and what is important for the future of the company has to be discussed. If you fail to discuss this, then you will get into trouble, because you can block the company, and it can be you can paralyze absolutely operations, and investors and shareholders, inside the company, start quarreling and start fighting, and it gets ugly, and then it just is not operative. So it's very important. I know and Facebook is again a great example, because they were kids, they had no idea, and when they did this, it was complicated because everybody has their own assumptions and everybody has its own expectations. Not to mention that, of course, Mark Zuckerberg, according to the movie, that's what I say, kind of failed to inform his at least Eduardo Savarin, his partner, about the contracts he was signing, that it was basically diluting him, only Eduardo, down. So basically the shares that they were selling were only Eduardo's, they were only Eduardo's shares, not everybody's shares. So it's kind of unfair, that it was just one guy, one of the shareholders, one of the founders of the Facebook was selling his shares. The other one were selling less shares, less percentage, etc. Because Eduardo didn't read it, because Eduardo thought they were friends, because Eduardo misunderstood. He thought the lawyer he was talking to was representing everyone, and everyone was doing basically the same, etc., etc. And he realized it was only him selling most of his shares, etc., etc. Great example of not reading contracts, and this is the problem, guys. You have to read the contracts, and I know you think, oh well, this is legalese. Well, then ask, then review it, then Google it if you want. But the concept of regulating and establishing the rights and establishing anything related to the life of the company, to the operations of the company, to the future of the company, it's important, if possible, to anticipate all possible scenarios. Sometimes it's not, but if possible, to do that, in terms of investors, in terms of management, in terms of rights, in terms of authorizations to financially, in terms of I can sell, I cannot sell, etc., etc., or what can I do. Also, you had, well, the canvas. Actually, you had a good example of canvas in my slides, the business model canvas with all the features. You saw that's a very easy one, and that's very simple. They also call it canvas basically because they put it up on the wall, and they write all the key partners, key assets, and they write all the things, and they post post-its about value proposition, customer segments, channels, revenue streams. They kind of focus the most important factors of the company, and they put the different elements or the different characteristics or assets of each one, or conditions or factors of each of these 9 elements. Then what I'm sending you also, guys, today, lucky you, is I have found the book. I guess it's legal, but I don't know, it's there. It's there online. When I download it, I subscribe to academic website, so I got the whole book, the 4 Steps to Epiphany. And so you guys are going to be reading chapter 5. I can tell you now, chapter 5, it's chapter 5 is page 131. After we've done customer discovery, customer validation, now we're entering customer creation. It's very simple. You will see customer creation. It's according to the author. You will see in you will read some of the cases. Customer creation is after you have discovered, you have validated. Now you have to create, meaning you need real customers and you need to keep them. How do you do that? You set objectives, you position the company and the product, you definitely launch finally the company and the product, and then you of course work on demanding creation, advertising, marketing, trade shows, etc., etc., and you keep investing on that to keep customers coming. It's not enough just to discover and to validate. Then you have to start having them and keep them. That's why after reading this chapter, it's very important, and this is the homework actually, it's in Moodle, always in Moodle. You have to submit, again, we're flexible, but by the end of Friday midnight your time, you have to send me just a business case about 2 examples of successful business creation. Explain in each case why, what are the factors that contributed, how they did it, what market, etc., etc. You will see also that in customer creation, you will see some of the elements we have already discussed, how important it is to analyze the market type you are in, if it's existing, if it's new, if it's resegmenting. You will see all these ingredients that we mentioned before. Now they are developed here as to how to make it viable and to make it and to make clients and customers to buy your products and keep buying them. You will see all this. I'm just scrolling down, and well, you will see the also all of the faces, and all the characteristics and all the strategies to do customer creation. Very self-explanatory, with a lot of graphics and etc. If you have any question, like always, you can ask me. You can send me a video if you want. You can ask me questions. Also, if you like to, as I mentioned on the email, if you like to review your midterm papers, etc., just tell me, send me an email, and I will. We can set up like a video conferencing, a big, as we mentioned, a future and very big important new product and service in the future. Video conferencing, working remotely, e-commerce we mentioned as well. So anyway, and we can schedule a Zoom or a FaceTime or whatever to discuss that. Also remember the Eastern. I think we cover up everything. No, I forgot, and you know how much I like Vala Afshar. You have to follow him on Twitter. Yeah? So Vala Afshar, tip of the day. Be humble, because you may be wrong. Be kind, and you may be remembered. Be forgiving, you may feel lighter. Be trustworthy, you may see further. Be generous, others may reciprocate. Be curious, you may stay teachable. Be hardworking, you may be luckier. Be yourself, and you will be happier. This is today's tip. And my own tip is, I know you guys are doing Netflix and Disney Plus like crazy, me too in a way with my kid, etc. But I always try, and it helps. It's a mental process, and it helps. Read, please, not apart from homework. This is my personal advice from me to you guys in a personal way. I recommend you to read 10 pages per day of anything else related to school. Either a novel, either I don't know, history, either an essay, what else? Detectives, anything unrelated to your school and to your studies. Biographies of great leaders, etc., etc. I fully recommend you. Reading is very, very advisable, not because you will learn something, that of course, but it's an intellectual process that you need to practice and exercise, like being teachable, as they say here all the time. This is my tip for today. I hope you guys are doing fine. Keep in touch. And again, next week I will send you maybe a video, but with no homework, no commitment, just a hello video, how are you guys video, and maybe with some stuff and some voluntary readings, or just discussing what's going on. Okay guys, see you around. I'm gonna turn this off now.